Welcome back, listeners. Disrupt Education, Allie. I have Allie Privet here. How are you, Allie?
Life is good. It's officially spring, though it doesn't feel like it. And I I just got back from Niagara Falls. Have you ever
Yes.
been?
I was little. I actually, this is the weird connection. I learned how to swallow an aspirin there. Really random things. But yeah, when I was little and I had a headache and they didn't have chewables, so my mom was like, swallow this. Took me a few tries, but I got it.
It's interesting how like certain places bring back memories.
Right. How was it though? It looked beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful, and it beyond just getting to go to Canada and Buffalo, New York. It's interesting, like as we're gonna talk to our guests today,
Mhm.
the skills you need to travel and the differences that kind of different hats you have to put on and kind of patience and be able to go with the flow. Uh, Different cultures, different people do things differently. I did almost get hit by a New Yorker driver, which I felt was very stereotypical, but I didn't get hit. Anyway, yeah, no, it was a great trip, another adventure, and yeah, I think it'll relate to our guest here today.
Yes. So we have Stephanie Short with us today from America Succeeds. Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Hi, great. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Absolutely. Now we're going to jump into those skills. We're going to talk a little bit about durable skills. We'll go all over the place, but can you give a brief intro of like who you are and what is your position today? What are you doing?
Stephanie Short. My official title is Vice President of Partnerships at America Succeeds. How I describe that work, though, is it's my job to go out into the world, talk to as many people about what we're doing, and find opportunities to make an impact. In reality, that means also a lot of boring things like writing grant proposals and reports. In real life, though, or in the rest of my life, based in Denver, Colorado, with my partner, I'm a mom to a basset hound, not children. And yeah, love just getting outside, spending time with friends and family, and doing the work that I am here to talk to you about today.
Excellent. But before we jump into that, pun intended, Allie, what is the weather like in Denver? Because we always talk about the weather here for some reason, because it's different every day, no?
It is different every day. So today felt like the first day of spring, but if I know anything as a lifelong Coloradan, it's that is a lie, and snow is likely coming later this week, if not soon.
So we know the weather is not durable and anywhere really these days. But I kind of wanted to jump in and ask you. So there's you guys are working with a name of skills that you call them durable skills. And I kind of wanted to ask. We'll open up this whole thing. Is what is that? And then is that different from life skills? What? Let's start there. What is a durable skill?
Great question. So, we officially define durable skills as how you use what you know. So, skills like critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and how you show up in the world. So, leadership, resilience, yourself, and cultural awareness, speaking of travel. And so, for us, you have also heard them called 21st century skills, human skills, soft skills, social emotional skills. But we are now 23 years into the 21st century. We know that these skills are anything but soft. In fact, durable skills are the skills that will last a lifetime when the technical skills that you're going to need to succeed are going to continue to evolve at a rapid pace. And so for us, that became durable skills.
How long has this initiative been going on, and you're kind of how has the work kind of evolved into what you're doing now?
That's a great question. We launched the Durable Skills Initiative in 2021. Prior to this, actually, we were working on a project called Age of Agility that was all about the technical skills evolving with the future of work. And what we believed back then is if learners and businesses and workers were required to be agile to succeed in the world, the education systems preparing them should be equally as agile, which very honestly is something that no education system has been accused of. And so while we were making some progress, understandably, that was put aside to confront with the pandemic and emergency remote learning and everything we've been through collectively over the past few years. The other side, though, are these durable skills. We've heard business leaders talk about them a long time. And so we partnered with MZ Burning Glass, now called Lightcast, to develop a framework of durable skills terms and do a labor market analysis to see how they show up in the workforce. Now, looking at over 80 million jobs, durable skills are 7 of the top 10 most requested skills in job postings. The top 5 durable skills are requested nearly 4 times as often as the top 5 hard or technical skills, and they are absolutely in demand regardless of industry sector, occupational type, educational attainment level, or geography. And so we believe that better preparing learners with durable skills can help transform pathways from education into the workforce, and have evolved our work over the past few years to try and advance that idea and goal.
As a business teacher, I absolutely love this because it's something that I get a lot of students after high school. They'll go through the classes, but they're kind of still in the academic sense, right? So they're still kind of stuck in, all right, what grade did I get in, like, I don't know, business management or whatever. And that's why I'm a huge fan of portfolio builds and things like that. How do you show what you know, right? And really, when I first saw the durable skills wheel, I was like, finally, thank you. And so that's what my question is. As you see this kind of, I mean, it should have been in education a while back, or maybe it was, and then it went away and came back. What are your thoughts on, like, how to, or what are your strategies of bringing this into education? Where does it come into education? And, what are the outcomes that you're looking for beyond? I mean, everybody's looking at grades, everybody's looking at test scores. We know that always doesn't reflect, I mean, in my opinion anyway, the skill sets that students have. So yeah, kind of like, maybe unpack that. I just gave you a big glob of a crazy question there, but yeah, hopefully, yeah, you understand the question. But yeah, how is it coming into play in education? Where is it coming into play?
Durable skills are actually pretty fundamental to how someone develops over time. I remember back when we were doing the agility tour in 2017, a keynote we worked with a lot back then had a slide. He was a university professor, and they were doing a neurological study with students of their brain activity throughout the day. And in all of the other things that they were doing, there was a lot of brain activity, even while sleeping. And then they went into class, and that brain activity flatlined, right? Which tells you a lot. And I don't think that's just university classes, right? But we have built, and we could dig into all the nuance, the education system that exists today is largely sort of a sit and get kind of system. So students are sitting in rows in desks, getting content from the expert at the front of the room, and then spitting back out that content knowledge via all of their assessments, which fundamental reading, writing, and arithmetic skills, in addition to digital literacy, are absolutely key to succeeding in today's world. But it's not just about content. It is, how do you show up? How are you curious? How do you find answers, since they have the content for anything that they could want at their fingertips now in today's world? How are you working with others to solve problems? How are you identifying your sense of self? That's at the heart of what durable skills are talking about. And so it's not even the idea of adding a critical thinking course to the day. Very frankly, you don't think critically from 11 to 11:45 and then go to math. Ideally, these skills are something that are infused and built throughout your entire lifetime, and something that you get, and I think are most readily today demonstrated through examples of real world, authentic, relevant projects for students. And so most often we're seeing students develop their durable skills through extracurriculars, through sports teams, if they are, privileged enough to travel with their family through those types of experiences, and not in the classroom where they're just sitting and getting and regurgitating what we've told them the right answer is.
It's man, the durable skills wheel and the work that you're doing is definitely in alignment with what we talk about here on the Disrupt Education podcast. Something I'm interested in is, how does your work, how do you talk to schools about it? How do you talk to employers about it? How are you trying to cross that bridge so that, everybody's on the same page, or that we're trying to, right? Because it's almost like educating these entities to get them on the same page. So how is your work aligned with those groups?
So 2 answers to that one question. What you're talking about first is the language problem. And that's a really big deal, that sometimes we are using different words to describe the same skill. Sometimes we are using the same word to describe different skills. And sometimes we are using language that doesn't overlap whatsoever in those 2 spaces. And so the heart of this project is really focused around that language idea. So we have a partnership with CompTIA, and we're currently working to develop a national competency framework for durable skills, building consensus, and specifically building consensus across employers about what someone should be able to know and do relative to durable skills entering their first job. And there's a whole bunch of pieces baked into that, not least of which is the fact that if we focus on the employer market or the demand side of the equation first, we can cross state lines really quickly. Then if we work on the supply side in K-12, where we have to go state to state and community to community and build this from the ground up. But part of that too is getting employers to send a clearer signal with their language to educators. My favorite examples of where students are learning durable skills are always these really kind of innovative, cutting edge, nothing like the school I went to examples of kids learning durable skills. But it's also really important to note that students are getting these skills in a lot of places, and teachers are developing these skills in a lot of ways already. We just forget to tell the kids that they're learning them. So when they go sit in front of an employer, they're not thinking about collaborating on a group project in science class or overcoming something in the difficult group project with their team, because we just didn't give them the language of, here's how I was resilient, here's where I practiced communication, collaboration, leadership. And it all kind of circles around this language mismatch that's happening in our space today.
Going back into your own school, I think everybody that we talk to has their own kind of path, right? And we each own our own unique path. Can you kind of describe what you went through to kind of come to this? I mean, you don't just become a VP of an entity and just you don't have your own instances or your own experiences that have really driven you to do the things that you do. So I'm curious to know, a little bit about your path, and then how did you get it? How did you get these durable skills, and how did you work into where you are? And also, if you could kind of adjust some things in your own path, what would you have done differently, or kind of adjust in a school sense to maximize your own path looking backwards?
If we rewind to all those years ago, I was the do as you're told, take all the AP classes, make sure you have the perfect college transcript sort of high school student. And I got into a really good college. I actually instead decided to go to my local college. And then I dropped out of said local college to my parents' dismay. And I had ruined my entire life, according to them. And I went and I worked in hotels and bartended and just like got some, frankly, durable skills life experience. And it was finally, I kept getting passed up for this promotion that I was so qualified for, but I didn't have the 4-year degree that I finally was ready and said, okay, I'm going to go back to school. The Reader's Digest version of what's happened since then, I got a marketing degree. I launched a career in tech startups. As a young woman in tech, and in particular for companies that were looking to be acquired and make money, I just realized that my heart needed something a little bit different in the world. I had my own consulting business working with small companies doing marketing and communications. And somehow that led me to a chamber of commerce where someone else convinced me that policy advocacy work was just comms. And I've sort of stayed in that space today. So now, it's been almost 10 years since I've made that sort of switch into the space I'm in. And I've kind of taken more on over time and grown into a role where today I joke, I only have durable skills. Like the coding skills that I had when I was in tech are so long expired that they don't even count. Like my whole job is durable skills today. I share that just to share that durable skills are for everyone. And if I could go back and change anything about my experience, it's that I would have had the opportunity earlier on in high school to actually explore careers and explore what I was interested in. Because this idea that, I was college bound and just you're going to get to college and then you're going to figure it out. There's a real mismatch there because those are often the kids that we've sort of said they're going to be okay. We won't worry about them, and we'll worry about skill development and career exploration for all these other kids that aren't necessarily on that pathway. And I think my story is a reflection that exploration is beneficial for every kid on every pathway. And it frankly wasn't until I went out in the world and developed some of those durable skills with ultimately then some technical skills and a college degree that I was able to go out and launch a career and find my way to something that was personally meaning and fulfilling. And I consider myself super lucky to be in the seat that I am today. Because we do this work, I think we focus a lot on all the kids who don't make it to this space, but this is what I want. I want everybody to be able to find something where they feel like they can contribute and they're challenged and they enjoy what they're doing. And yeah, for me, that was ultimately about durable skills, the hard knock life way.
Hard knock life way. I think that a lot of our guests have quote unquote non-traditional routes to where they are today. And I actually personally love that part of the podcast because it kind of tears away this idea that, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, and that is like your life. For our younger listeners and those trying to like figure it out, we need to hear more of these types of stories. So you mentioned so much in what you do, and one of the really interesting items that we don't always have guests that are on policy and advocacy levels, and so it can be challenging as a teacher in a classroom or an administrator in a school district or in a community. And like you were saying, you were going to employers first and then kind of so you can then cross state lines and you can look nationally and globally, like what are the skills, which is what I love about this idea of durable skills, is they can transcend any current, curriculum and whatnot, because it can be placed blanketed over that. But when you do advocacy work in policy change, is that so that this type of work can be put, nationwide, handed, trying, like, tell me more about that side of what you're trying to do, because I'm really interested in it, because I think it's the work that more people need to do in order to make these bigger changes.
Policy is certainly part of the answer when it comes to scaling the types of things that we would like to see. Policy can be both a carrot, an incentive to get something done. Most often that comes through like funding streams, or it can be a stick, which as a classroom teacher and in the world of assessment and accountability, we've gone a little too far the one way, where it's created some things that we don't want to see. It's why education needs to be disrupted today. One, I think that in education in particular, it is true that education policy, especially K-12, is really locally focused. So it can go a really long way to like get to know your local school board. Make sure you know who your superintendent is. Make sure you know who your state representatives are. In many states, there are coalition type organizations who can help do the heavy lifting for you. But what they need are people on the ground in classrooms, learners, families, educators to show up and talk about their experience to help get some of that work done. So I will always encourage folks to get involved in sort of the civics part of how our democracy works and how we drive that change. But I've also come around to the idea that if policy by itself was going to fix all of our problems in education, it probably would have done it by now. But really what we need is a combination of policy, practice supports about what actually happens in classrooms, what experiences look like. Sometimes we can clear barriers to let innovation happen, but sometimes those barriers don't actually exist. People just perceive barriers that are keeping them from trying the innovative things. And we live in a world where we can't ignore the power of technology and products and other solutions to drive forward change. So, for example, the CompTIA partnership I mentioned, from that rubric, we fully intend to have a suite of derivative products. I frankly have no idea what those products will look like yet, but things that could be employer trainings and tools, PDs for different educators, ways to evaluate new types of models so that we can incentivize those with state policy. So there's a lot of ways to think about doing the work. I guess all of that really says to me, there's no shortage of work still left to do. So anything you can do to help move toward the vision of education you want to see is useful and helpful, especially in this moment of time we're in.
As a business educator, CTE educator, and I say that because I'm not sure what that means across the nation, but I know that in Illinois, what we're doing here is there seems to be a growing CTE coordination director positions and different things like that, which we've been doing that a lot. It happens in the sciences. It also happens in, the arts. It happens across the board, depending on what school you're in. One of the things that is a focus is, or a question is, what does that mean? Why, right? I think part of it is policy in Illinois. But I wanted to ask you, so as people are diving into questions of their own school board or their communities and different things like that, what are the questions they should be asking to kind of promote, the skills and the things that, I always get the argument. I'm going to go into like three different directions here because my mind's going all over the place because I'm excited. But, one of the things that I hear a lot, and, this is across socials and the areas that I talk about is, it gets back to what is education for, right?
Hmm.
We know the model that has been prevalent, or like the lead model, is the colleges have built into what our K through 12 system should look like. But we also know like there's a huge ROI question. The funny thing is I did go to 4-year right after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And you know what else is funny, Stephanie? I bartended and worked in a hotel too. I don't know if that's just where everybody should get their durable skills. But then I eventually got into my major later. So slightly different, but kind of the same way to get durable skills. So my question then is like, so what questions should be communities should be asking themselves to really start to make this shift? Because again, a lot of people are like, academics shouldn't be there for, students, businesses don't need to be putting their hands in there and making our kids blah, blah, blah. That's a big thing that I get, but I know the answer. I know, but I want to like kind of hear your lens on that. Like, how do you ask those questions and then, kind of get through those blockers?
I mean, very frankly, we're in a moment in time where there is a right and a left on balloons.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it is not an easy time and space
right.
To be operating in this work. I can tell you what we believe at America Succeeds. Our vision is that every learner has the opportunity to find their own meaningful pathway that helps them contribute to their local community and compete in the global economy. If we look at that from the parent perspective, and it doesn't matter right, left, blue, purple, green, center, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum. Every parent wants their kid to find a successful and fulfilling future, right? And so there is so much agreement in that space. And I think that's the place where we can come together. The durable skills work and the research was baked around quantifying what employers have always asked for from the education system. The number of employers that have come to me and said, like, if you give me someone who can think critically, work well on a team, and show up on time, like I can teach them whatever technical skills that I need. We'd like to see a world where there are more on-ramps and off-ramps and stackability and opportunities for someone to do the self-exploration, to figure out what problems they want to solve to get to that space that also gives employers access to the talent they need to drive forward our communities. So, the reality of it is that most businesses care about their local communities because those are their employers, those are their customers, and that's how they know they're going to keep growing in the future. So they have a vested interest in education. They are also parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and all the things, right? So a little bit of it is just kind of de-escalating this moment in time that we live in and getting down to what is it that we want our students to know and do? What is our profile of a graduate that can help set them up for success in the future? For the most of us, that's going to include getting a job. So the employer perspective is important from that sense. What that means is it tracks back throughout the rest of an educational journey is also a place that educators, and in particular, innovative, disruptive educators, should weigh in and think about. I'll shout out, I think CTE, and I'm a big fan and advocate of the kind of CTE for all model, right? We should all have an opportunity to explore our careers. It is not the CTE of yesteryear, like even me growing up, where it's shop class in the corner of the school, right? Like I've seen incredible business courses or technology courses or like healthcare labs that are totally insane and inspiring. I think CTE, frankly, does a great job of helping students develop durable skills. And it's not about making a junior in high school pick a healthcare pathway for the rest of their life. Sometimes it's letting them try that healthcare pathway so they can say, oh, no, thank you. I've realized, like, I passed out at the sight of blood. That pathway is not for me. And
for me.
Then, yeah, me too, right? That's a very real reflection. But like, then being able to transfer their durable skills and that confidence that they've gained in themselves into some other career pathway that may or may not include 4 years out of college. I think that's the direction we're going. And I could sit here all day and explain sort of the larger market trends. We actually have a report coming out called No Worker Left Behind, 6 trends that capture what's going on in today's labor market, that is explaining declining post-secondary enrollment and the explosion of pathway options and questioning ROI and the persistent skills gap and kind of all those things to dig into. But this is it feels like we've been here before if you've been doing this work a long time, but this is also a unique moment in time where there is some urgency with today's students to do something different to give them that opportunity for a successful future. And so that is kind of our open rallying cry. And it seems to resonate, at least for the moment. It is not as polarizing as balloons.
Yeah.
I find the work that hearing you talk about it more in depth, absolutely on the right track for just it can go in both directions. You can go from the top down or from the bottom up and really meet in the middle. And that's a unique, I think, space to be in terms of the work that you do. It creates a lot more work, as mentioned, like there's probably no shortage of it. Okay, I have to ask this question because we have been talking about AI on the last few episodes, and I'm curious if, well, rather how that is, or if and how it's changing conversations with your work. If it's shifting it even more, because durable skills, I don't really feel like an AI can do a lot of what you've mentioned. They can support the work, but yeah, has that topic come up in the work that you do? And if so, what is it looking like?
So first, I will say in the research, the jobs most aligned with the future of work, or the jobs that are least likely to be automated in the near term, have the highest demand for durable skills. But that's pretty innate, right? Like that's something we all kind of get to logically. The assumption that repetitive tasks are easy to automate, but these human tasks, and I think especially the direction that AI is going, the truly kind of human capability to wrestle with bigger philosophical, ethical questions and decide how that technology continues to evolve over time will make durable skills even more in demand in the future. We have been talking about this since our Age of Agility project, the durable skills predecessor. Automation and artificial intelligence and technology have been reshaping the workforce for a long time. They are going to continue to do so. But for as many jobs that get displaced by that technology, there are also new jobs that get created that we can't even imagine yet. And now my team was telling me, they're like, well, your numbers are outdated. But at a certain point in time, we were telling the story that imagine just like 10 years ago, I think maybe 15 years ago now, the first iPhone came out. And prior to that, we didn't know what an app developer was. But now think about like how prolific the job of an app developer is and how many opportunities are in that space. And so the ability for durable skills to give someone resilience and the ability for technology to create new opportunities for high wage, high demand jobs means that there is so much potential in the future that we can capitalize on. And so I hope, right, I tend to prefer to look at it from the really like hopeful, just imagine all the cool things we could possibly do to fix the problems in our world lens, and less of the Terminator is coming like back down the hatches lens. But yeah, that's a personal preference. I think maybe because the alternative is just a little bit too scary to think about.
I like that, talking about these skills in understanding the tools that we have. It's something as a high school educator, it's fun, it's challenging, to allow these students to play, right? To really start to, see, not even through, your core classes and different things like that, to play with AI. I mean, I have a student right now who's already created an email maker. So he used the open AI. He's in my entrepreneurship class, and he was like, "Hey, check this out. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't." And, so just adapting, his skill set is there, right? So he definitely has a lot of those durable skills, and he's able to figure out and then use the tool. So I love the way that you put that, with AI.
You can tell that student to call me if he
Yeah,
wants to.
I will. I will.
How to do the same, by the way.
I definitely will. I'll connect you with him. He's an amazing student, and as a matter of fact, I wrote him an email telling him how proud I was of him using his own platform with AI to write an email. So it was kind of funny. And so, I think our big question here, and this is kind of the capper of the podcast, is, what do you see as the most effective, like, look of a school, that is allowing this playground of durable skills? I personally do not see an 8-period day, where everything is, siloed up, but I'll just lead with that. But what do you see in the future? And I know each school has its own community and set of culture and whatnot, but is there some big generalized changes that you can see that are probably coming on the horizon, or you would like to see?
Yeah. I would say there's a bunch of competing visions in the space. One I like to reference a lot, Education Reimagined put out their big idea, which I think paints a really cool possibility, right? Like, to your point, it is not an 8-period day. It is not butts and seats. It is an ecosystem approach where the school is really more of a place for community and navigation support. And there's a lot of leveraging, one, interdisciplinary, real world, authentic learning that is ideally learner centered and learner led, and connected to community and sort of taking advantage of the rich resources that are around them. Competency based and personalized, right? I could just spew out essentially what this is starting to feel like is sort of a list of all the, like, here's all the cool terms that people like me are talking about these days. It is really one thing you had asked me to think about, and I had really kind of taken for granted until I got further into this work. But I was really lucky in elementary school that I was tapped to be in a gifted and talented program. And 2 or 3 days a week for a couple hours, I left my regular classroom and I went to this other classroom that looked a lot more like a learning lab or CTE lab type setup for elementary school kids. And we did like future problem solvers and played with the fake stock market challenge. And we built giant globes out of Rice Krispie treats. And we did these crazy science experiments. And it was like, I could list the projects for days and days and days, but it was like so hands-on and so amazing. And it shaped my love of learning and curiosity and interest in asking questions and confidence that I could step into a situation where I didn't have all the answers and probably figure it out. And I haven't really recognized until now as an adult, especially doing the work that I do now, like what a tragedy it is that not every student in my school had that experience, because I think we would be a really different generation today. And that is what I would love for every kid to have the opportunity to do, right? And eventually I still learned, that's the thing, you still learned all the core academics and ultimately, right, like ended up in the track that was college bound and all the things. So I think there's an opportunity to make them one and the same. And too often we're just thinking about sort of those styles of learning or visions as education as two separate, disparate things. And so I would love to see a totally radical, disrupted version of education come to life. But I think that there are small steps we can all take today to start infusing and moving toward and doing the things that bring that sort of authentic and relevant and interesting experience to life for all of our kids. And so that's why I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about this work. I'm grateful to come on podcasts like this and talk to educators like you who are out there doing the good work. And I want to support and connect and accelerate much more of this across the country.
Allie, final thoughts. What do you think?
The vision you cast and the work that you do with these, pathways for students and people to kind of go wherever they want is, I think it opens so many doors in the educational system that anyone listening to this podcast should definitely reach out and learn even more about the work that you're doing. But I like what you said about, it's not a balloon left or right. It doesn't matter what color it is. This is what we need to grow and develop, and how it looks can be localized, and it can be a pathway no matter where you are, what you're doing. And I think that's really unique and awesome about the work that you're doing.
So Stephanie, how can people find you, find the organization?
Of course. Yeah. Please visit us at americasucceeds.org. You can search for me on LinkedIn, but you can also get in touch with our team through the website, and any one of us are happy to connect and point you to the exact right person you might need to engage with our work.
And I got to tell you, as an educator, I put those skills right up and had a conversation with my own students about it, and that's gonna grow. So for the educators out there, definitely even share this with the youth. I mean, they understand it, they see it, and helping them with the language of actually, having them describe the things that they do. Because we're like, you have these skills, but this is a great place to take a look at the durable skill wheel and a lot of the other things that are going on. Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your own personal story and your lens and all the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
For Allie Privet, I'm Peter Hostrasser. We'll catch you next time on the Disrupt Education Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Disrupt Education Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Are you ready to disrupt the educational arena you're a part of? For more ways to get involved in the work we do here at Disrupt Education, check us out at disrupteducation.co or find us on LinkedIn at Peter Hostrasser or Allie Privet.
Our mission here is to help facilitate and amplify changes in the educational system through local initiatives and help you scale them into community movements. Our building network of disruptors in education are working to move beyond scores and grades as the only measure for student learning. If your school district, college, campus, or organization is looking for facilitators of this work, reach out on our website or social media.
And if you have any thoughts or feedback on this week's episode or any episode, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, taking risks, and most importantly, disrupting education.